What is your proudest moment?
Oh my goodness. Wow. You know, so when our producer Seth and I and some other people had an improv group, we put on a sketch comedy show. And that, like, I remember feeling like at the time, like, this is like the hardest I've worked on a thing in a while. Maybe ever. Yeah. And so, like, making that happen was fun and felt like an accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, you really, worked towards that, worked hard, and put like your whole craft into it,
Kyle, you did work a little at it too. You wrote us a song.
Actually, I worked a lot on that song, and I was actually pretty proud of that song.
Hey, is that your proudest accomplishment?
Maybe, yeah. I didn't get to see it, though, is the thing.
Oh, that's right. You missed it because you were in another show. This is good. This is good relatable content that everybody
It really is. The rest of the episode is going to be us telling you about the show that one of us didn't even see.
I'm going to describe each sketch.
Yeah, I think one day we'll have a We Are the World style reunion and perform it.
But you don't get to be on that track.
Yeah, it's celebrities that we get to do it.
Yeah, none of us are in it.
Yeah.
Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. Every week on Butter No Parsnips, your hosts Kyle Imperator and Emily Moyers take you on an adventure through the weird, wacky, wonderful, and sometimes even wicked world of one wayside word. Strange characters, delightful bits, and general joyousness abound. Join them as they test each other's etymological expertise.
Hey everybody, welcome to Butter No Parsnips. I'm Emily Moyers.
And I'm Kyle Imperator. Whew, Emily, I'm busting at the seams.
Oh God, I can see that. You're leaking.
Can you see it?
It's like a real finger in the dam moment.
Yeah. Don't take it out, Emily.
Well, we gotta get this word out of you.
Emily, are you ready for your word?
I'm so ready.
Okay, Emily, your word is jactitation. Jactitation. Jactitation.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So I can, hey, everybody, I'm a linguist. I have become a linguistic expert on this podcast.
It's amazing.
And so I can make some deductions here. Definitely the titation ending makes me think that this is a noun that means like something is happening.
Can I tell you whether or not that's the case, or is that that's not really a whole guess there?
Yeah, I'm still in the speculation phase, but you can tell me if I'm right about it being a noun at least.
Yes, it is a noun, Emily.
Like it is a noun for like an effect, an event, a happening, that kind of a thing.
I guess that last one is the closest.
Okay. The front half of that word is giving me grief, though.
It should.
But do you have a hint for me that can maybe help me get the rest of the way?
Do have a hint for you, Emily, and I hope it smooths things over for you. Your hint is Gilderoy.
Oh, okay. Boy, I hope we're thinking of the same Gilderoy. I mean, how many Gilderoys are there?
I know like 6 or 7.
Like in all of history.
I think that's my proudest moment, is just being able to name all the Gilderoys.
Kyle, name one other Gilderoy. Actually, I guess I shouldn't, because there might be one in this podcast.
No.
Okay. So is jactitation taking credit for others' accomplishments?
That is much closer to the answer, Emily.
Oh, can I say one more just to see if I can get it bang on the head?
Please, yes.
I didn't have any ideas. I just thought maybe I could get there.
I was just wondering if I could, if I could like push the envelope that
just
far.
Hypothetically, is jactitation like full-on identity theft? I feel like I'm getting further away.
Somewhere between those two answers. Emily, jactitation means bragging or boasting, especially in a false manner to another's detriment, or public or open declaration, especially of a boastful sort.
All right. Yeah. I'm getting this. I'm getting a picture. Getting it.
So it's like false bragging, I guess.
Yeah. But it's Gilderoying.
It's Gilderoying.
It's jactitating.
Yeah. If only they had used that word 10 more times in the Harry Potter films.
It would have been banned.
Emily, the word ultimately comes from a Proto-Indo-European root, yeah, which means to throw. Yeah.
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 I loved that presidential campaign from a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Please clap. Please clap.
Please clap.
Yeah became Ikea. I'm trying my best to do all the Proto-Indo-European pronunciations, if you could say, yeah. And then that became the Proto-Italic Yakyo, which also meant to throw, possibly to throw down. I don't know if it meant in the, like, start a match sort of way, or...
Yeah, throw down the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Or just to chuck something out a window to defenestrate.
Right, possibly. This came to Latin as iaccio, with definitions including to throw or hurl, to send forth or emit, to scatter or sow, or to throw out in speaking, utter, mention, or declare.
Interesting. I mean, when you give it the definition hurl, now
Hurl.
Yeah feels automatic.
Yeah. Honestly?
Well, but that's not throw down, that's throw up. So it can't be the same.
Yeah, you're right. It's the opposite, actually.
It's
So iaccio then became jacto and then jactito, adding the definitions to disturb, disquiet, torment, agitate, or shock, to hurl insults, or to boast, act conceitedly, show off, display, parade, throw one's weight around, make oneself conspicuous, or flaunt oneself. I just like how many ways there was to say boast.
Yeah,
for that one.
It's like we're taking a step farther away from the original word with every one. There's like a real walk happening here.
Really is. I mean, it's an old word, Emily.
That's what happens.
Finally, Emily, we solve the iamblicus jamblicus dilemma from episode 47 on the word electriomancy. Remember that?
No, what are you talking about? The iamblicus jamblicus? Is that a dance craze from 1965? Come on, everybody.
Dude, the iamblicus jamblicus. I can't twist my knees like that. Emily.
Like your leg is fully bent 90 degrees. Please recap that.
Remember, iamblicus.
Oh. No, I don't remember.
He was that, like, wizard that we talked about that was doing electriomancy, and I was like, sometimes it's iamblicus, sometimes it's jamblicus.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say his name was iamblicus jamblicus.
No.
Well, but yeah, that makes sense, because I's and J's are the same.
Right. Emily, do you know anything about why I's sometimes became J's?
I know. I mean, there's lots of letters that have that, like U's and V's are also often interchangeable.
Absolutely, and I know all about that because of looking up I's and J's. But we're not going to talk about that today. Maybe a different episode.
No U's and V's. It's all I's and J's today.
Shut up, U's and V's. Emily, the J symbol itself was originally a swash letter, S-W-A-S-H, swash letter, which was a character with an exaggerated typographical flourish, such as tails and entry strokes. Just basically a fancy-looking letter.
Sure.
The J symbol was used in the Middle Ages as a swash version of I at the end of Roman numerals with multiple I's in a row. So 93 would be written as XCIIJ instead of XCIII.
Oh, just to be fancy or to, like, help you read it better?
Probably to help you read it better. But the J symbol was just an I with fancy particles hanging off of it, right?
Sure.
So, Emily, in Latin, the I symbol represented a vowel sound, E, but also the consonant sound, ya, which eventually evolved into ja. See where I'm going here?
Yeah. I'm following.
So, in 1524, linguist Gian Giorgio Trissini, all G's, no J's.
Oh, okay.
I know, it would be ironic, right?
Jan Yorio.
Jan Yorio. Yeah, Iorio. Trissini published his Epistola del Trissino delle lettere nuovamente aggiunte nella lingua italiana.
Oh my gosh, Kyle.
And in it, he proposed a reformation to the Italian alphabet to make the language clearer, including the addition of the J symbol to represent the consonant form of I sounds. Literally, one guy was like, we're going to use this letter.
That's super interesting because, if I'm not mistaken, modern Italian has no J.
Yes, which we also won't get into today. There was a lot of people who did not agree with him. One of those was Bembo, who we talked about in the apostrophe episode.
We mentioned briefly, yes.
Yes, but for a little while at least, long enough for it to catch on with other alphabets, the J symbol stuck.
Sure.
And so Jactito became Jactitio with a J, and finally came to English as Jactitation.
Wow.
It's the history of Jactitation, the word.
And the history of J.
And the history of J.
That's fun.
All right, do you want to hear some more fun stuff? I got so much packed in here today, Emily. I'm so excited.
Kyle, you always have so much fun stuff in your episodes. I'm so excited.
Emily, what are some things people may have boasted about historically? What are some things? Just throw some out there.
The English and French kings used to boast that they were the ones that invented the king's touch to cure scrofula.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
They each tried to claim it first.
Probably, you could say that says jactitation, you know?
There you go.
Falsely boasting.
What else, Kyle?
Well, the one example that I have comes from the year 1508 and concerns the popular Saint Dunstan, who was an English bishop and metalworker. You ever heard of him?
No.
Well,
but it's the fact that he's a metalworker is there's got to be a tungsten pun in there somewhere, right?
Oh, wow. Tungsten Dunstan. That was his, like, I don't know, metal rocker name.
So wait, you're saying he's a metal worker, like he was the guitarist in Metallica.
Yeah. So, Emily, legend says that Dunstan defeated the devil either by pulling his nose with red-hot tongs or by putting metal shoes on the devil's hooves and refusing to remove them unless he agreed to steer clear of any house with a horseshoe nailed to the door.
You're just going to take his word for it? And take those shoes off?
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Well, he said he wouldn't, so the devil's nothing if not trustworthy. That's what everyone always says.
There's one thing I know about the devil is he always agrees to his commitments.
That's right. And it's a horseshoe?
A horseshoe. Well, yeah, he worked with metal, you know?
Sure. And I'm sorry, is this a mythical figure or a historical figure?
This is a real man who died in the 900s.
Who met the real devil?
I mean, supposedly it's legend. I don't know.
Okay, sure. Like mytho-historical.
Yes.
Okay.
So horseshoes, Emily, had already been superstitious for a number of different possible reasons, ranging from their resemblance to a crescent moon to the magical nature of iron. But this Christian legend of Dunstan helped to build the auspicious nature of horseshoes in Western culture. It's one of the things pointed to for why horseshoes are considered lucky today.
Oh, they are considered lucky.
Yes. That's why they're in Lucky Charms, Emily.
That's why they're one of the Lucky Charms. That's right.
All the other Lucky Charms are related to other legends about saints. The balloon legend. Anyways, they really had nothing to do with this episode, but I felt I had to tell you about Dunstan, you know?
Yeah. Oh, good old Tungsten Dunstan.
He was buried at Canterbury Cathedral in the 900s, and his tomb was a popular attraction until the even more popular saint Thomas Becket was buried there in the 1100s, and people basically forgot about Dunstan's tomb being there.
It's like that scene in Chicago where Lucy Liu gets arrested and everybody's like, oh my God, forget that other lady.
Yeah, who cares about her? Well, Emily, the monks at Glastonbury Abbey, where Dunstan had been abbot when he was alive, sought to take advantage of this lapse of memory and claimed that Dunstan's tomb had been relocated to their monastery for safety during the Viking siege of Canterbury in 1012, which drew to their cloister both visitors and donations.
As a little jactitation right there.
A little jactitation on behalf of these monks, huh? So the Archbishop William Wareham was so incensed by this fraud. Yeah, Wareham. Go ahead,
I hardly
make
know
your
him.
jokes. Wareham was so incensed by this fraud that he ordered the friars at Canterbury to dig up Dunstan's tomb as proof. And it was literally like a 3-layered tomb of like iron, lead, and stone. And then once they opened it, some lumps of flesh were found, which were said to smell very sweet.
Sweet?
Yeah,
Why would they smell sweet?
The book I was reading were like, yeah, because he was probably preserved in spices. And I was just like, dear God. Okay, fine.
Wow.
So historian Thomas Fuller relates in his 1655 The Church History of Britain that hereupon the Archbishop sent his mandate to the abbot and convent of Glastonbury, henceforward to desist from any jactitation of Dunstan's corpse and abusing people with such pretenses.
He jactitated in life and was jactitated about in death.
It's honestly how I'd like to be remembered, to be jactitated over, you know?
All right, Kyle. I assume I'm going to outlive you, so I'll get on that.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, bud. Emily, indeed, it seems jactitation became enshrined in canon law, which is the set of rules that governed the Christian churches, about around this time, during the Protestant Reformation in the 1500s. This took on many forms in the ecclesiastical courts, including jactitation of adultery, which is falsely claiming a spouse to be adulterous, jactitation of tithes, which is falsely claiming entitlement to tithes or, church donations.
Right.
And jactitation of right to a seat in a church. Or falsely claiming a right or title to a pew or sitting in a church.
Wow.
Really important back then. You had to go to court over it.
So it said, you don't get the front seat, man. Stop saying that you do.
Stop telling people. You've never even sat there once.
Doesn't have your name on it.
The most oft-used cause of action, though, was jactitation of marriage. So much so that the word jactitation itself became synonymous with a false pretense of being married to somebody. So that's another definition of jactitation.
Just lying about being married to someone?
Lying about
was
being
that like
married
common
to someone. Emily, this I wrote in my script unsurprisingly, but to you, surprisingly, happened a lot. So freaking often.
Why?
Emily, enter the extravagant Elizabeth Chudley, an enormous jactitator and center of one of the most cited historical jactitation suits, of whom the book Love Romances of the Aristocracy begins, was destined to shock society by the laxity of her morals as she dazzled it by her beauty and charm as a profligate in petticoats.
A profligate in petticoats? So good.
Emily, Elizabeth's story is a long and eventful one. I have pared it down to literally only the most necessary events to know her life, but there is so much more to know. There's literally a whole book about her, and it's like sex, celebrity, and the lives of the rich, and it's just about her. It's great.
Amazing. Yeah. So we're just getting the highlight reel. This is going to be action-packed right now.
Action-packed, yeah. So this other book, Love Romances of the Aristocracy, continues. It writes more about her that I wanted to give you some characterization. It says, before she was long out of the nursery, she vowed that she would be a duchess. She was quick to learn the power of beauty and of a clever tongue, and before she was emancipated from short frocks, she was a finished coquette. It continues on. She was the merriest madcap in a court where license was unrestrained, and she soon had high-placed lovers at her dainty feet. But
I
with
love this.
tantalizing coquetry, she kept them all dangling.
That's twice they've used the word coquette. They've decided we
Twice.
only have one word to describe this woman.
She is a darn coquette.
They said she's nothing but a coquette.
Nothing but it. So Emily, she kept the men dangling. All
Yeah.
except, of course, for the Duke of Hamilton.
Absolutely. Got to nail him down right away.
Gotta nail him down. Well, she said she wanted to be a duchess.
That's
since
it.
she
You
was a
got to
baby,
get in
right?
there.
So she became engaged to him in her 20s. But her spinster aunt, who disliked the Hamiltons, convinced her he was unfaithful. Instead, the aunt set her up with Augustus Harvey, whom Elizabeth admitted she almost hated. And the two secretly married, partly because he was second in line for earldom.
Sure. How did that go?
Yeah, not good. The two lived a sad life together. The book
Oh.
says, one long misery, broken by the intervals when the husband was away at sea, and accentuated during his happily brief visits to her. During which time he was gone, Elizabeth became mistress to Evelyn Pierpont, 2nd Duke of Kingston, described as an amiable and weak old gentleman of enormous wealth and with one accommodating foot already in the grave.
How polite of him to already
How polite,
be near
right?
death.
What, so kind. What a great guy, that Duke. Evelyn.
How accommodating.
So, tired of waiting for earldom and having been refused a divorce by Harvey, 25 years into their marriage, Elizabeth brought a suit of jactitation against him and won, swiftly marrying the Duke and fulfilling her lifelong dream of becoming a duchess.
So, I'm sorry, was this the story that started with, I'm going to understand why jactitation of marriage was so common?
Yeah. Hold on. Hold on. Hold your horses.
So what was
There's
what
more.
was the jactitation suit that she brought against him?
She brought a jactitation suit and said, we were never married to begin with.
Oh.
And he couldn't provide proof. And there's a number of reasons why that I didn't include in here. One is because the person who they asked to write it in the register forgot to do so.
So funny.
And then there was a point in their marriage where he was almost going to be Earl and that he got very sick. And she was like, this is great. He'll be Earl and he'll die. And so she went and forged a license and then he didn't die. So she tore it up.
Sure.
And didn't become Earl.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So she, had this suit of jactitation, and because he had no proof, they were just like, yeah, you're right. You're a spinster. You're not married. Congrats. You're free to marry.
Okay.
So she did. She married the Duke, became a duchess, and the Duke died 4 years later. And at this point, old, obese, and as faded as she was, the book's words, not mine, Elizabeth wasted not the Duke's fortunes and had one last great fling, which shocked and disgusted even London, purchasing a magnificent yacht, sailing to Rome to hang with the Pope, and only being saved from eloping with a titled swindler by his arrest and later suicide in prison.
Oh my God.
Everything's grand, huh? Right?
Fantastic. I'm picturing it like this is like she's the rich widow who goes to the Riviera and meets the con man at the tables. What's the dice rolling the tables,
Yeah. Emily, that's literally it. She's out there playing roulettes. Twirling her pearls. Well, Emily, turns out there was one teensy tiny problem.
Oh no.
The one thing you see that a suit of jactitation doesn't do is annul a real marriage if you lied about not being married.
Right.
So the Duke's heir thus brought a charge of bigamy against her, saying, hey, she married while she was married, so those riches shouldn't have gone to her, they should have gone to me. And the trial became the event of the century, attracting 4,000 spectators, including Queen Charlotte herself.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And the prince
this
was there.
was in Bridgerton. This happened in Bridgerton.
Basically. It's going to be episode 3 or 4, whatever they're on to next. The next spin-off.
The new season.
Yeah. How do you think this trial went, Emily?
I mean, now I'm picturing it with all the grandeur of Bridgerton, and it's fantastically dramatic. There's an ill-chosen classical cover of a pop song.
Yes.
Great.
Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Yeah. With the 4-piece quartet.
Yeah. Emily, I'll have you know that Elizabeth Chudley, nay Harvey, nay Kingston, was already well known at this point just because of how eccentric she was, how over the top she was, and boastful she was. And so it was just an extraordinary event. It was written about by so many people. It was the trial
Lady
of the
Whistledown.
century. Yeah, it was very Chicago,
Yes, sure.
Witnesses at the trial included a maid who attended her secret marriage and the widow of the person who officiated it. And after 5 days of trial and a 50-page speech written and orated by the Duchess herself, the reviews said that her speech was beautiful.
Was she trying to filibuster?
Yeah, basically. She was found guilty by all 116 peers.
Wow.
And then promptly fled the country to live glamorously in France. And she continued to call herself Duchess, even though she was legally obligated not to call herself that.
I love this woman.
She's great, right? Elizabeth Chudley.
This is the life I want to live.
It's really great. I want to quickly sneak it in here because we're really way over time already, but the description of her death was incredible. She was dying, and they were like, ma'am, you're dying. Go, lie down. And she's like, hell no. I'm going to live my life. She got up, started walking around, and said, get me some wine. And the description is she knocked back glass after glass after glass of wine, and then said, I'm just going to tuck her in for a little nap, and, I'll be rejuvenated when I wake up. And she just died. She did not wake up from that nap.
But that's it, if you're dying anyway, just get plastered and have a nice little snoozle.
So, Emily, in her will, the jactitation over her fame and wealth was made apparent, as she left most of her jewels to her dear friend, the Russian Empress, a large diamond to her equally good friend, the Pope, and an extremely valuable pearl necklace and earrings to the Lady Salisbury for no other reason than that they had been originally worn some centuries earlier by a lady who bore the same title.
I like to think that the executor of her will had to gather all of these major figures together in one room just to read this will
and to the
things
Pope.
They're not going to get because she did not have these things. The Pope and the Grand Duchess Anastasia had to get in a room.
I think she physically had them, but she had no claim to them is the problem.
Right. They weren't hers to give.
They're not. So, Emily, back to why jactitation was common at the time.
Sure. So you could be a duchess? Was that the reason?
Well, it was because the act of getting married in secret was really popular because people were afraid of what people would think, of what their family would think, of, marrying out of rank and all that stuff. So people would get married in secret all the time and didn't have proof of their marriage. So in 1753, just 9 years after Elizabeth's first marriage, the secret one, the Clandestine Marriages Act was passed as a way to curb the number of jactitation suits brought before the courts. And it basically effectively ended the practice of secret marriages in England. It made it so that the marriage wasn't official unless there was documentation for it and it was done through the government.
Sure.
So considering this, Emily, 1753, right? One can assume that the right to petition for jactitation of marriage as a lawsuit must have ended shortly after that. Must have been abolished, right?
Sure.
Well, one would be wrong to think that, Emily.
I guess I could have guessed that based on your intro there.
The right to petition for jactitation of marriage was abolished in the UK in 1986. And in Ireland, not until 1995. I was alive, Emily.
How often was it happening in the 90s?
Barely at all. It was not. I don't know why they still had it as
Kyle,
well.
If you're using the word barely and not never, that's too many times.
I think it was maybe I don't know, 600 or 700 times a day.
Barely at all.
Barely at all. Emily, it was a long one, but that was jactitation. The whole enchilada.
That was fantastic.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
I mean, I gained a new life model.
Elizabeth
Found a
Gently.
book I definitely need to read.
Yeah.
Found a movie I'm going to pitch to producers
Absolutely.
tomorrow. Really great word, Kyle.
Thank
Super
you.
fun.
Emily, this brings me to my question. Can you use jactitation in a sentence?
I'm sure I can. Elizabeth Chudley, when she was standing at the craps tables chatting with some good-looking
Magnate in
I'm
Monte
trying to think
Carlo.
of like an old time. Yeah, when she was chatting with some count,
Yeah.
jactitated about the take from her oil rigs that year. A mess of a sentence.
It's good. It's beautiful. I think it's a great segue. Would you like to play a game?
I would love to play a game.
Awesome. Emily, your game today is called Thrown into Question.
Really good.
So the word jactitation is also used in medicine, Emily, which I didn't talk about all today because it's just awful. It describes extreme restlessness or tossing and turning in bed, or more generally, a twitching or convulsive movement of a limb or muscle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to get into it, but is that a completely unrelated etymology?
No, same etymology.
It doesn't seem.
Because it's a more literal translation of the Latin
it's like throwing.
"jactio," to throw or hurl.
Sure.
But, Emily,
That's
it's not the only English word to come from this sense.
Oh,
So I will give you a statement about one of these words, and you will respond Jeopardy style with the word in question form. Okay?
all right. I'm excited.
Good. Emily, this word, stemming from the Latin for to throw out, might be associated with spring-loaded seats.
Spring-loaded seats. Oh, what are ejector seats? Or just the word, what is ejection?
Yeah, eject, Emily.
Yeah.
Good job. Eject comes from the Latin ejecto, a combination of jactio and the prefix ex, meaning out, to throw out.
Oh,
Eject.
yeah. Nice.
All right, next one. This word stems from the Latin for to throw down, but also, sadly, to lower, hang down, depress, or to deprive, rob of.
Huh. I got nothing.
If you're really sad, if you're a sad person, you might be described as this. If you just lost, I don't know, $1,000.
Oh, what is dejected?
Yes, dejected.
Hey!
Emily, you got it. It comes from deikyo, a combination of yakyo and the prefix de, meaning from, down from, or away from.
Nice.
Deikyo can also mean to kill or slay, which is a crazy other definition for that. Okay, your next one, Emily. This word stems from the Latin for to throw together, as in the figurative sense of to take a guess.
Oh, what is conjecture?
Conjecture, Emily, you got it. You're a pro at this.
Nice.
Conjecture comes from konikyo, a combination of yakyo and the prefix kon, which means with or together.
All right.
All right.
I'm feeling good.
Well, you're 3 for 3. You got one more and then a bonus question.
Okay.
This word stems from the Latin for to throw across or over, and in English is more closely related with landing than throwing.
Huh. Uh-oh.
Or perhaps the path taken to get to the landing. Or the course.
Oh, I'm sure I'll be kicking myself if I let you tell me. No, I don't want to waste too much time. I don't got it.
Ah, right, Emily. The word is trajectory.
Oh, sure.
From traikio, a combination of yakio and the prefix trans or trans, meaning through, across, or beyond. Trajectory. So here's your bonus question, Emily.
Okay.
If you get one, I'll give it to you. These 3 grammar terms come from the Latin for to throw against, to throw under, lay or place, and to throw towards or at.
I mean, I can definitely get 2. I just can't think of the third.
Say it. Let's hear it.
I mean, subject and object.
Object and subject, Emily. Absolutely. The last one is adjective.
Oh, that makes sense.
It turns out, Emily, I don't exactly know why these are these are where the words come from, but the Latin are calques of ancient Greek words.
Oh,
so object comes from antikeimenon, which literally meant anti opposite, and kaimai to lie opposite, and the Latin was to throw against, right? Subject comes from upokeimenon, literally upo under, and kaimai to lie, to the Latin to throw under. And adjective comes from epitetikon, literally epi upon, and titami to put or place. Epitetikon is also where we get epithet from.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So epithet and adjective, they are related.
Because they're descriptors.
They're descriptors.
Kyle, this was a great episode. Everybody, remember you can find Butter No Parsnips on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Butter No Parsnips Podcast, and on TikTok at Butter No Parsnips. And if you liked today's episode, consider giving us a 5-star rating or review wherever you heard us.
And if you really liked today's episode, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. Donating $5 or more earns you a shout out, either on social media or here on the podcast.
Thanks so much to all of you. You help us make what we make.
And with that, I've been Kyle Imperator.
And I've been Emily Moyers, and this has been Butter No Parsnips. Kyle, I'm sorry, you've said jactitation so many times, and I really need to ask if this word is related to ejaculation.
How dare you, Emily? How crass of you. How could you even insinuate?
Word, Kyle. It's a word.
Do you think they sound that similar? You think I'm going around jactitating all over everything?
I think they sound very
similar. What kind of monster do you think I am?
Kyle, is it related?
Yes, of course it's related, Emily. Ejaculate also comes from the root iaccio, to throw. In this case, it comes from the Latin eaculor, which means to hurl or shoot out. From a word iaculum, which meant missile or dart.
Right, exactly, Kyle. You could be shooting anything out of anything.
Yeah. Butter No Parsnips is produced by Seth Glixman, Emily Moyers, and myself, Kyle Imperator. The main and accompanying themes were composed by Kyle Imperator.